I'm Walt Disney Imagineer Asa Kalama. I'm one of the people who design and build all the cool theme park attractions. Like the 3D, or should I say 4D, interactive arcade adventure Toy Story Midway Mania, here at Disney's California Adventure. Come on, you gotta see this. I love this attraction. It's like a virtual Midway shooting gallery hosted by some of your favorite Toy Story characters. But I know what you're thinking. Isn't this supposed to be a show about science? Well, it is. As Imagineers, we use science to tell stories to take you to exciting places. And when you start thinking like a Walt Disney Imagineer, you're gonna find out that science is really a lot like this. Whoa! And this. And this. Oh. So join me for an incredible journey into the world of imagination, inspiration, and science as we dream it, do it. The science of Imagineering. I just scored 125,000 points.
I just scored 175,000 points.
And so we write again. Hello, and welcome to my workspace at Walt Disney Imagineering Research and Development, the place where imagination meets engineering. See, everything we do here begins with imagination, an idea or notion for something new and fun. It'll be hilarious! Then we use the science to bring those new ideas to life. And if you've ever wondered how some of those ideas go from up here to out there and into our theme parks, well, today I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. All you need is a little creative teamwork, some science, some engineering, and it helps to know a little about design. But what exactly is design? Design is all about how things are put together, how they're engineered, how they look, feel, and work. Like that chair you're sitting in. It's been designed to support your weight without breaking. Or that plane flying overhead. It's designed to take off and fly through the air. Even that toy robot you saw on TV last night is designed to, well, cross that off your birthday list. Every human-made product that we see and use has been designed to look, feel, and work a certain way. And that's the result of something called the engineering design process. It's a step-by-step problem-solving process that leads to the development of a new product or system. We say problem-solving because when you're designing something new, challenges are bound to come up. The engineering design process is something we Imagineers use on practically everything we create, from park attractions to snack stands and restaurants to themed landscaping. And it's actually the same process you can use to bring your own ideas into reality. How do we do it? Here's step one. You always begin by identifying a need or a problem. Let's say, for example, your home sweet home is suddenly overrun with tutu-wearing monkeys. Now, unless you really love monkeys, or ballet, you need to design something that will get them out of your house. After all, they're really messing with your stuff. Step two, now that you've identified the need or problem, you have to define your design requirements, things your design must have or do, and constraints. Those are pre-existing challenges or restrictions that must be taken into account. For example, you know that your design must work on all the monkeys at once. And as far as constraints go, well, thanks to Bobo, you're now completely out of bananas, so you can't use them for bait. Step three. Now it's time to brainstorm possible solutions. This is where you invite your friends over to form your team of creative thinkers. Then you each use your own unique skills to come up with all kinds of different design ideas. Like designing a bright yellow fruit-scented banana suit that one of you can wear to lure the monkeys out. Or perhaps build a giant disco ball outside your house, hoping the monkeys like disco as much as they like ballet. You keep brainstorming more and more ideas until you have a number of possible solutions. Step 4. You need to decide on an approach. That is, select one specific idea, the one you think that has the best chance of success. Then make a concept drawing or simple sketch of the idea so everyone can visualize and understand it. So after all the brainstorming, you decide the best approach to getting the monkeys out of your house is a combination of many ideas. You decide to build a giant disco ball suspended under a huge banana-scented color photo of Dance Fever legend and TV icon Denny Terrio. Hey, it could work. Step 5. You build models. No, not those type of models. We're talking scale models. And no, not that type of scales. We're talking about models that are built on a smaller scale, or size. Scale is the ratio between the size of something and a representation of it. Even though it's smaller, you build it to be an exact replica of what you want your full-size design to look like. The model gives you a way to look at your idea from every angle to discover what will and what won't work. Like, maybe the mirror ball is too big and heavy, so you redesign it and put on a smaller one. Maybe the photo's color isn't right, so you try different colors. Models and concept drawings allow you to recognize and fix design problems early on, when it's still easy to make changes. The last thing you want is to build your actual finished product, only to discover it won't work. Last step, build it. And there you have it. Your design has solved your problem. Well, one problem. Although some of the steps in the design process can happen in different order from project to project and from design to design, there are two things you can always count on. One, the process will be iterative. That means you might go back and repeat steps in order to improve the design. And two, great teamwork leads to great design. And just like at Imagineering, when it all comes together, when you've solved all the problems that have caused you to redesign and sometimes redesign your idea, your final product can be, well, a whole mountain of fun. Expedition Everest at Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's a giant snow-covered mountain range here in sunny Florida. And inside the mountain is a fast and furious train ride that speeds you on an adventure like no other. But at one time, even Expedition Everest was nothing but an empty piece of land. Yes, it needed to be designed. This is Disney Imagineer Joe Rohde. How did Expedition Everest go from an idea in someone's head to the thrilling attraction we enjoy today?
Well, you know, the design process that we use applies to everything we do. And it has to start out with a need, something that has to get done. Animal Kingdom needed a roller coaster.
I love this part.
And we don't just satisfy needs, we tell stories. Imagineers tell stories. We needed a story that would be appropriate to the theme of Animal Kingdom, and that's nature. Once we decided that the ride was going to be here in Asia, then we start brainstorming, sketching ideas to fit the theme, and that's when we're bringing in artists and writers and engineers all going to work together.
And I seem to remember that some very different ideas came out of that brainstorming session.
Oh, yeah. Our design team came up with all kinds of ideas. Mythical creatures, ancient kingdoms, all kinds of things. We decided ultimately to focus our attention on the legendary Yeti, the abominable snowman from the Himalayas. He has this role of protecting the beauty and the privacy of the mountain.
What happened to those other ideas?
We just kind of put them in a box and keep them. You never know when they're going to be useful later. It's a creative process. There's no bad ideas. You should never be afraid to share an idea.
Really? So here's the idea. For the Imagineer on the go, edible name tags. Minty. Well, that's good to know. So once the team decided on the Yeti, when did you start engineering the Forbidden Mountain?
pretty much at the same time. We started by researching real mountains in the Himalayas, and we also went to Utah because the rock formations are similar. We started making sketches, concept drawings of the mountain, of the surrounding village, what's it going to look like, how does it fit into the story of the Yeti as the protector of nature, how are the guests going to find the Yeti when they go on an adventure.
And as those concept drawings evolved, then you began to make models.
We always build presentation models, research models. It shows the overall theme, the idea of the attraction, really helps predict how things are going to look, how they're going to fit together. It helps you explain your vision to all these other people, people on the team, people who aren't on the team who are going to build it.
Let's talk about the mountain, because it's really key to this attraction.
We designed and redesigned all kinds of models of the mountain as the story evolved. It's much easier to make a change on a little tiny model than it is to make a change on a great big mountain when you're building it.
That's what I said. So, which were your first models?
We started with these little paper models, which would give us a basic idea of what the mountain would look like. We built these clay models, and we added little 1-inch square pieces of paper to them, and each square represented about 20 square feet of mountain. That gave us a sense of how big it was going to be. The models also help us figure out scale and proportion. Now, we sculpted this model as an intermediate model to develop another level of surface details. With this, we're able to work out color, where the snow is going to go, the geology of the forms of the mountain, and then we can use this model to guide the making of even bigger models. You know, some Himalayan peaks are over 20,000 feet tall. Our mountain is 200 feet high, so we have to work really, really hard to make it look really tall without it being that tall.
Think about it this way. When you normally see something in the distance, like a mountain, it appears much smaller than things that are closer to you, but you still know that the mountain's pretty big.
Right, and the clay models helped us figure out how we were going to trick the human eye into believing that the mountain is much bigger than it really is.
How many models did it take to get it just right?
Well, we did like 27 of these little clay models just working out the mountain. It's like a give and take process. Budget, materials, collaboration to meet all the needs of all the teams working on the project.
I know the last model you built was 6 feet tall and made out of foam. Why was that last model so important?
The bigger you make a model, the more detail it has. So using laser technology, we scanned this incredibly detailed big model into a computer where we were able to divide it up into 3,000 unique rectangular chips. Each of these chips fit together like puzzle pieces. Each chip was scaled up then to a full-size 6-foot rebar form that ended up going on the actual mountain. Using these rebar chips and like 32,000 bags of cement, we were able to create the realistic Forbidden Mountain that you see today. That 6-foot model actually became the skin of the mountain.
Of course, that explains how the outside of the mountain was designed and built. But what about the inside, where the actual ride and Yeti live? Check this out. We're standing in the seldom seen interior of the Forbidden Mountain. You can see the support beams of the steel structure all over the place. Although it may look chaotic, it's all been designed to fit together perfectly, so it's safe and secure. And that involved a model and design of a different kind. This is Disney Imagineer Todd Camille. What are we looking at here?
This is a 3D digital computer-aided design, or CAD model, of the inside of Expedition Everest. The creative team and track designers came up with a concept of a high-speed thrill ride that weaves the park guests in and out of the mountain. But keep in mind that Expedition Everest has lots of track, 4,424 feet of it, that twists and turns, rises and falls.
And it was your job to figure out how to build it, right?
Yeah, I had to combine all the design elements to create one computer model so that everyone could see everything fitting together. Steel support beams, rock work, tunnels, ductwork, cooling systems, catwalks, storage, you name it. And it all had to fit into the mountain.
Wow, that's a lot of elements to keep track of. This must have helped solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, it did. At one point, this model helped us discover a steel beam that would have run right through a section of ride track.
How did you determine what to build first?
By using a 4D design program, the fourth dimension being time and sequencing, we could determine in what order the ride needed to be built. So first we lay down the concrete foundation. That's the basis for the ride, and then we start to add in pieces of the ride track that we can get to first. And we start to build in the facility steel that goes around that, and we slowly build up and out away from that for the things that we can reach. And everything is color-coded in time so you can see what you need to build when.
which once again shows us that the engineering design process is a collaborative process. All the teams work together to solve design problems as they come up, and then they redesign. You can also show us lighting in this model, right?
Yeah, but that's actually his department.
This is Disney Imagineer Michael Valentino. Lighting also follows the design process. How does it do that?
Well, the main function of show lighting is to help tell the story. So we start out with identifying the need. How can we design lighting that creates the mood and feeling that goes along with the ride's story? First, we look at concept art to get a sense of the overall feeling of what the creative team wants. Next, we brainstorm on ideas on how best to reveal the drama in each scene with just the right lighting.
So what do you do to help visualize this?
Well, sometimes we experiment with scale models. By placing lights in different locations, we can get a real sense of what the lights will actually do in the ride environment. For example, let's look at the Yeti scene from Expedition Everest. There are a few challenges here. The lighting must appear as if it's coming from whatever source the guest is seeing.
In Expedition Everest, that's a shaft in the top of a high-altitude cave.
Exactly, and that was our first bit of storytelling. A cold cave high in the Himalayas. How do you light a scene to create that setting and feeling? First, we place some lights where the opening of the cave is supposed to be, which in this case is up high and behind the Yeti. Now we have light coming into the space where it logically would come from.
The light looks like it's coming into the cave from outside. Now, how do you make it look like it's cold?
Color is very important in lighting. Psychologically, people think cold is blue.
Okay, that worked. The Yeti is also supposed to be very angry in that scene. He's angry that we've disturbed this mountain. How did you design the lighting to show that?
This is where shadows really come into play. We've got blue lights helping us tell the story that we're in a cold, dark cave, but blue really doesn't say angry. People associate red with anger, so we get a little sneaky. We put a red light down low, and we aim it up and fill in the dark shadows on the Yeti's face.
Now he looks cranky.
And when he opens his mouth to growl, that red color hits his teeth and pink gums, you really get the sense of red anger.
Spooky. Sound design also follows the design process to help us tell our stories. This is Disney Imagineer Joe Harrington. Tell us how sound design affects the guest experience in our parks.
Well, you could say that a sound designer paints soundscapes the way a painter paints pictures. Now, to do that well, you have to understand sound of the natural world and be able to translate that to the guest experience.
There are a lot of different sounds used throughout Expedition Everest to bring it to life. Tell us about them.
Well, sound begins to play a role in the story as soon as our guests enter the mountain village, but it becomes a more important storyteller when they board the train and enter the forest right below the Tibetan temple. That's where we immerse them in the sounds of birds and insects that are natural to the area. Now, we do that with a bunch of speakers that are placed different distances and heights from the guest. Because you see, you can't just put 20 birds or so at a couple of speakers and expect them to sound believable. You distribute those 20 birds in 30 or so speakers, and you place them in believable places, like trees and brush.
You can hear the sounds of birds and animals all over the place. And on Expedition Everest, you apply that magic to every sound in the attraction, right?
Yeah, see, as you continue the experience, the soundscape twists and turns right along with the story. For example, as the train crosses that suspended bridge and headed towards the Everest peak, we used a vulture scream to punctuate that story point, as well as create the feeling of immensity and grand scale. Then, once inside the mountain, when the guests are underneath the Yeti's threatening arm, they're also inside a carefully calculated sound zone that are time-aligned with the train's approach and the Yeti's powerful scream.
Well, he sounds pretty angry and powerful to me. And I think it's time that we go pay him a visit. Awesome attraction. The mountain looks great. The lighting is dramatic, the sound totally believable. And it all comes together because of great teamwork. On average, it takes 5 to 7 years to design and build a theme park attraction like Expedition Everest. But the fun of the design process doesn't end with an amazing thrill-a-minute coaster like this one. All of our attractions involve the design process, even the ones that are a little bit more interactive. As you know, Toy Story Midway Mania is one of my favorites. You take aim with these spring action shooters and score big points in this virtual arcade world. But this vehicle and these shooters didn't always look like this. They came a long way during the design process. Here we are at the wood shop, back at Walt Disney Imagineering Research and Development. This is Disney Imagineer Estefania Pickens. Okay, you know how much I love Toy Story Midway Mania. I love this attraction. I just scored 120,000 points. I hear you have the very first ride vehicle lying around somewhere.
Sure, it's right here.
Wow. All I see are 2 chairs and a paper towel roll.
Careful, that's the spring action shooter. I know, it seems pretty simple, but this really helped us to figure out the basic need of Toy Story Midway Mania. That is, how do you design an interactive attraction that's fun for the whole family? In this case of Toy Story Midway Mania, we answered a lot of our questions with playtesting.
Playtesting is one way we Imagineers experiment with design. You have people use a prototype of your design, a functioning model, to find out what does and doesn't work. You record a playtest, so when something doesn't work, you can study the problem and redesign.
Exactly. As Imagineers and scientists, whenever we run into an obstacle, we try approaching it in a new way. We do that over and over and over again, and that's why the design process can take years.
But a paper towel roll and 2 chairs?
Sure, we knew we wanted a midway arcade type attraction, but we needed it to be fun and easy to use for guests from ages 3 to 103. So we set up screens and used these chairs and these as shooters to decide how far we would go from side to side, up and down, the angles, all very important information for figuring out what the Toy Story Midway Mania game would be.
But I assume this vehicle was redesigned pretty quickly, right?
Of course, I have the redesign right over here.
Wow. Plywood?
Yeah. When you're designing something, you always want to start with a simple model because you don't want to spend too much time on things you know you're probably going to change. This full-scale mock-up helped us to learn more about how the park guests would experience the ride, what they would see and from what angle they would see it. This vehicle also helped us decide another very important design element, where to place the shooter. Where would guests of all ages be able to reach it? Playtest it, redesign. Should it be hard mounted or should guests be able to pull it towards them? Playtest it, redesign. It's all about experimentation. Our playtesting helped us design and redesign until we got it just right for our guests.
And speaking of redesign, how did the design for the spring action shooter come about?
Well, we came up with lots of different concepts and designs for our shooter. Here, let me show you. One of our biggest challenges was how would it actually shoot? We needed something that would fit the story and theme, so not a trigger, but Mania-style arcade fun. We went through and play tested about 4 or 5 different prototypes. Some of them you had to pull, others you spun, some you pressed. Finally, we decided on the spring and ball mechanism, just like an old-fashioned pop gun toy.
And that's the spring action shooter you see today. Problem solved.
Not exactly. We still had more playtesting to do. We had to look at such little details as how long is this string? Could kids reach it? Was it too long? Playtest it. Was it comfortable for everyone to use and people of all ages? Playtest it. How far did it need to turn? How high did it need to aim? Playtest. As it was developing, so was the game software, the ride vehicle, the track layout, all different teams working together to make Toy Story Midway Mania the popular attraction it is.
Oh, which reminds me, I've got a game to finish. I just scored 185,000 points.
I've scored 210,000 points.
At Imagineering, our engineering and design process reaches way back into our past. Back to the days when Walt Disney himself first started thinking about opening a theme park.
I felt that there should be some kind of an amusement enterprise built where the parents and the children could have fun together.
And now, I'm standing in the future of theme park design at Disney's California Adventure. Sure, now it looks just like a parking lot, but wait till you see what's coming soon. And funny, it also involves cars. This is a 1/32nd scale model of Cars Land, and this is Disney Imagineer Nancy Hickman. Tell us about the inspiration for Cars Land.
Well, Cars Land is a 12-acre, fully themed experience based on the popular Disney Pixar movie Cars that immerses guests in the world of Mater, Lightning McQueen, and all the other Radiator Springs characters.
And that includes a wild new ride called Radiator Springs Racers. You can see it right here in the model. Every attraction we Imagineers design tells a story. So what's the story we're telling with Radiator Springs Racers?
Well, story is, there's a big race that's about to take place on the scenic highway just outside town. The cars are all getting ready, and our guests are too, because the guests will be racing.
And where are we in the design process right now?
We're in the heart of the model phase of the design process. We started with this 1/32 inch concept presentation model. After the design was developed further, we moved on to this 1/8 inch model. Then the design was developed even further to get us to a point where we could then scan the 1/8 inch model in the computer, mill it, and create this giant 1/2 inch scale model. When the model was milled from the 1/8 inch model, it was divided into 40 pieces. Each piece was recreated into larger 1/2 inch scale foam pieces and then reassembled. The entire model will be carved in great detail and used as a guide for installation of the actual attraction.
Check out the detail on this model. Did the model makers carve this one too?
No, that was actually made by a rapid prototyping process called 3D printing, and we can produce a model of anything we need.
3D printing is a process where software converts 3D digital data into a physical 3D model. How does it work?
We either scan a physical object into the computer or create a purely digital model. The rapid prototyping machine reproduces that object by laying down layer after layer of a plaster-type material. What's great about this machine is that we can create any size object to match the scale of the model it will go into. When this entire 1/2 inch scale model is finished, it will go out into the field to be used as a reference when we're building the actual Radiator Springs Racers attraction.
It sounds so cool. I wish I could write it now.
Actually, you can, in our virtual reality lab.
What? This is amazing. This is Disney Imagineer Mark Mine. And this is the newest kind of model we Imagineers are working with, a computer-generated model.
Exactly. This model, combined with the virtual reality headset that you've been wearing, allows our design teams to ride through the environment long before it's ever been built. Give it a try. Turn your head to the left, and the computer allows you to see what's to the left. Turn your head to the right, and the computer allows you to see what's to the right. You can see all of the design elements of the environment. Elements that aren't working can be redesigned by the specific design teams. For example, take a look at the mountains.
And there are mountains. Wait, why am I looking at the mountains?
Well, one of the ways that we use these computer-generated models is to look at what guests might see from any point in a ride. We discovered, for example, that the guests could see part of Paradise Pier and some of the power lines, and that takes the guest out of the experience, and that's not good. So we knew that we needed to redesign the mountains to be higher.
Well, I must say, I think the future is looking good.
So what did we learn today about designs, models, and the engineering design process? Well, we learned that the best place to start developing a new idea is by identifying a need or a problem.
Animal Kingdom needed a roller coaster, a thrill ride of some kind.
Follow that up with some creative team brainstorming, and you'll come up with all kinds of ideas. Concept art helps you express your ideas in a way that everyone can see. And models, whether scale models or computer models, can really help everyone on your team understand how your design will look and work. Playtesting is a great way to get real-world feedback about your idea, to find out what works and what doesn't work.
This attraction has it all.
And when you discover that something about your design isn't working, you go back and redesign. The end result will be a design that many people have worked on together, and a design that works. We also learned today that there's no such thing as a bad idea.
You've all seen Disney's Electrical Parade. Now, say hello to my brand new electrical light vest. And matching bow tie.
So never be afraid to share your ideas. Trust me on that one. Oops, one more place I gotta go. I hope you'll remember that everything starts with an idea. If you follow through with your ideas, science and the design process can be the means to turn them into reality. As we say at Imagineering, dream it, do it. Okay, how about you give me some pointers?
The way I do it, see, I always keep shooting as fast as I can. Some people just like to wait and aim at targets, but I